great work.
Your requirements done today.
I'm excited to kick off this series for Lift the Rock. We're going to be talking about anything involved with connection, but more importantly, the connections that startups have found most valuable in the Little Rock community and throughout the state of Arkansas. So throughout the series, we'll be bringing in different speakers that have participated in various accelerator programs or incubator programs throughout the state, and then also people that are at the tech park that have received different types of just expertise through the different things that we provide at the Venture Center and some of the other area-wide programs. So I'm going to go ahead and just make a couple of save the date announcements. We have Waffle Wednesday that's going to be coming up mid-August. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically all of the flavors that you can possibly imagine that can be in a waffle. Up on the second floor, we have a large waffle bar that essentially we just make waffles, and you guys get to network with each other. So definitely join us for that. It's a free event to any of the Tech Park tenants or Venture Center members. And then we have Pitch and Pint coming up, which will be the next day. So lots of food that week, which will be awesome. We are essentially the spectator ticket will be $15. The VC member ticket will be $10. And if you'd like to actually pitch your 60-second pitch to enter to win $1,500, then you just get to pay $5 and then have a chance to win $1,500. I don't know, that's a pretty good outcome there potentially. So definitely be sure to join us for that. All the registrations, by the way, are on Eventbrite, and you can find those through our Facebook page and also our LinkedIn profile. So be sure to check those out. Pre-Accelerator will be beginning on the 17th. So if you are interested in, and Ashley would be the perfect person to talk to about all of this, but if you're interested in participating in our Pre-Accelerator program, it will be starting on the 16th. Applications are open as of now, correct? Yeah. Okay. And then also our JOLT competition will be coming up this fall on the 27th, 28th weekend. It's a capture the flag style event where we basically have a series of different soft skills development as far as communication and leadership, collaboration, and then also some tech skills as well. So you'll be able to essentially build out your talents there and your skill sets there, and then also just connect with other area corporations that will be participating. It's a good networking type environment for anyone to be able to participate in. So we will look forward to seeing registrations on that front. If you're a member of a corporation and you'd like to be a sponsor of a team, that is $500. And if you're just 4 people together that want to build out a team for JOLT, it's $300. So there's additional information on that online as well, so be sure to join us for that. And I think that's it as far as housekeeping. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Corey, and he will be talking to us about what floats a startup.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. Go ahead and take a moment to sit down, find a spot if you want. You want to stand up the whole time.
Want to be closer to the donor?
Yeah. That takes the majority, so.
Excellent, that's good. I'm used to that.
Thank you for coming this morning, and thank you for the opportunity. Can everybody hear me okay? I don't know if this microphone is.
Yeah, it should be good.
I'll try to stand near the podium so I could duck if there's anything that I can hide behind. Thank you again for joining us this morning. I'm going to speak to you today about something called What Floats a Startup, and hopefully you can see how I've incorporated a J-curve into my visual and how do you make it across the valley of death. And so what we like to do is fill it full of water and kind of figure our way across that. My background, I graduated from the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville with an information systems degree. Originally I wanted to be a computer engineer, and at some time I worked for Dean Kamen, who invented the Segway and other things back when I was in college and high school, and ultimately found out that I used my mouth more than looking at digital AND gates and NAND gates and designing circuit boards and things. So I kind of married computer engineering and business together. I worked at Axion as my first job out of college, and then for about 7 years, and then I put another 7 years on my belt in professional consulting, technology consulting at a company called Merkle, which is basically its competitor right across the street. I've consulted on Fortune 500 companies from Disney World, Harley Davidson, all the way down to humanity insurance, I've almost touched every industry in the marketing technology realm, right? Some custom software, even to some enterprise software. Okay, I'm just going to go through a couple items here. So I'm going to talk about history, try to make it quick, and then I'd like to get into some of the components that we're talking about connections, right? Connecting as an entrepreneur. You know, yes, I went to business school. Yes, I was a consultant. When I started a company, I didn't do a damn thing and actually put my foot in my mouth quite often. So we'll talk about kind of understanding a J curve, start up like a sailor. So obviously there's a theme here. So we're going to talk about what that means. Reading up, I think all of us have a library, but it's very important that there's some things to prepare for. And if you're new to it, you need to continually be reading, or if you're into Audible, do that. Team is everything. I'll talk about some of the things that I've learned in the last 3 years. And then accessing support, really going to try to focus on that, highlighting the pre-accelerator that was called out before, but also other ESOs around the state of Arkansas, but also what an accelerator did for me, and didn't do for me. And then at the end of it, I'd like to present something new to you. We have something groundbreaking that we're going to showcase. We've all heard of pivot, so we're going to show you how we're pivoting a little bit. Okay, so I think this should be exciting. I want this to be conversational, so if there's an opportunity, don't hesitate to stop me. All right, so I love narwhals, so I want to highlight the fact that these are my version of a unicorn. They actually do exist, and so I wanted to highlight that there are 6 components to our little narwhal boat that'll make it across. So quickly, the history. I launched RaftUp LLC in 2015. Actually, it's just 2016, but it's further on. We created a very crappy iOS app that tried to focus on mobile boating, basically social boating out of the water. It was a point of interest map. You can see where your friends were, but most importantly, what I was trying to tackle is boating safely, and we'll get into that a little bit. I took this to Lake of the Ozarks because Lake of the Ozarks is the number one most popular recreational boating lake in the country, but also the number 3 most dangerous body of water in the country as well, according to the Coast Guard. And we met with a first responder there. He goes, I love this mobile application, that's great, but if this could connect to my first responders and I pay for it, would you deliver me a solution that will let my first responders know where a victim is on the water? I'm like, okay, brilliant. And you follow the money. So I built a 911 solution that ties into a social boating application. Took it a little bit further on. I joined a startup accelerator last fall in Dallas called Tech Wildcatters. One needed to kind of go back to school, so to speak. I already did the free accelerator. Yes, I have a background. Yes, I kind of launched some things, but it was time to kind of reassess my startup, my product, and how do we simplify? What actually turned out was it was not a good, that accelerator wasn't actually positive, or actually it may have been a benefit, but we'll talk about that. And then we launched something called Adventure Safe. So I told you about the 911 service we launched. We launched a product called Adventure Safe because if you go to a 911 or first responder and say RaftUp, they have no freaking clue what you're talking about. But if you say Adventure Safe, it telegraphs well, they understand, and then they start the conversation. But today, at the end of it all, we'll talk about RaftUp 3.0 and vision. So real quick, just the history of why I created RaftUp. We were sitting on my boat in 2015, had stories about how we got lost, stuck, and stranded. And we're like, God, why don't we solve this problem where we're lost, stuck, and stranded on the body of water? So we said, hey, we need a system that's location aware. Everybody has a mobile device on them. Nobody buys an app these days, so it needs to be free, and it needs to provide a lot of utility. And most of all, social, right? So we wanted to be a location-based social utility. And so, yes, that beats Snapchat and Instagram. And then lastly, we built a next generation 911 service that we give away for free. So if you think about it, we have an arm, we focus on boating and outdoors, but at the same time, we look at those 911s that can't afford to have a next-gen 911 solution. So we focus on outdoor recreation, where we provide real-time location of individuals in outdoor recreation, primarily boating right now. But also, first responders can use our application. We can actually associate the nearest first responder to a victim in real time. This actually just originally just got used a month ago. There was a boat fire like the Ozarks. It alerted the nearest first 911 and also alerted the appropriate first responders to know exactly where that boat fire was. So did I build a system that was used? Yes, I did. Did it meet a need? Yes, I did. And we're going to continue launching and growing more 911s. We have 6 911s with 10 more that are going to be utilizing the system. Pretty exciting. All right, right, so let's get into floating a startup. So everybody in here, just raise your hands, or don't raise them. You know what a J curve is, or the startup J curve? Yeah? Okay, everybody, that's great. Perfect. There was a lovely book that was created by a gentleman named Howard Love. If you've ever heard about him, he wrote a book called The Startup J Curve, and he broke that Startup J Curve into 6 segments, phases. Normally when you start off, it's like, yeah, I started up, I'm a startup guy, I've got my MacBook now, I'm in my coffee zone, and I'm talking startup life, and I've got this idea, and yes, nobody else exists out there, and I have this great idea. So you go and you create the idea, you launch your idea, and then you start to morph and then realize that life really sucks at certain points in the startup life. You have team members that started with you and left, and things happen. But along this, you come to an understanding, and Lou McAllister is a great mentor of ours, probably mine, like everybody else here. And one of the things he said to me was that overnight successes take 3 to 7 years. And to be honest, it probably takes a little bit longer than that, but there's a lot of truth in there. Nobody will make it rich right off the bat. If you do, I'd love to listen to you. There's probably a small percentage of you out there, probably 1% of startups really just do this. We all will go fall into an area where we don't know what we're doing, right? So resourcing and connecting to your community, like the Venture Center or Startup Junkies, or an accelerator program, or any groups in here, or a mastermind group is really important. Today, I'd like to just kind of show you, we're hopefully starting to get out. We're veering out there. We're starting to morph and get into the model phase, which means we've already kind of earned some street cred. Our product has done some things. We're growing daily, users and revenue, and a little funding helps along the way too. So we're starting to see a new direction and starting to scale up a little bit. Start up like a sailor. So in this sense, I think you all get it. I originally wanted to say start up like you lived in the desert. So understand the climate and geography, right? So one of the things I didn't realize when I was in Arkansas is that when I'm creating a social boating application in Arkansas, not one single investor got it. Like, I don't get it. I go, you know, tourism is the second most highest GDP in the state of Arkansas, but they don't get boating applications in the state of Arkansas. So you need to understand what kind of business are you, right? And if you're gonna build your business and successfully go after a VC or angel, or potentially an investor, in Arkansas, it's higher risk to bet on a social mobile application type platform, right? But if I was a logistics company or into retail, or maybe some law or attorney work services down here, understanding your environment in which you're building your product and understanding that community that may actually embrace it is really important. So I've had my challenges. I'm like the banana tree that grew up in a cotton field. They're like, what the hell is that? I gotta cut that down. That is not a cotton plant. What's that yellow thing hanging out of it? So assessing if you start up an environment that's gonna probably be more beneficial to you. Assess available resources. Well, that's another thing. If you think that you're gonna find really affordable developers that wanna work next to cheap, forget it. That doesn't exist. You better have a lot of money, friends and family money, you're gonna burn through it quickly. So you're gonna have to either know how to write code yourself, build a product, or start to buddy up with individuals that know how to build a product, or potentially have a nice deep flat pocket, and then you can build some technology. And I just talked about tech as available resources, but operations is really smart, sales and savvy sales is really smart. But the other thing you folks need to understand also is when you start to get funding, if you don't have enough money or your revenue is not there to support benefits package, you still potentially could not get those, and you're still paying higher prices for those contractors. So when you start to assess your resources, try to assess it in the means of what's your budget, what can you afford, and you may have to actually move or hire individuals overseas and be comfortable with that, or know someone who did that. Plan to ration. So one of the things that I did is I worked for 2 years before I left to run my startup full time. I saved up 9 months worth of money and found out quickly that that was definitely not long enough. I sold my boat, my house, my car, and I lived with my mother-in-law. So plan to ration, plan to go all in. If this is something that you have a passion and you see a vision, but also it's not a risky, like, I'm just gonna lose it all and I'm gonna do it all because I just believe it so. plan to kind of go through there financially, but also the hardships of what it will take to run that business. But again, those local communities within Arkansas are really helpful. Life jackets equals family, right? So when you think about who's going to back you up the most, being an entrepreneur, as we all know, is the most lonely thing you could be, because guess what? Nobody understands what you're going through unless it's yourself, right? Nobody's going to pick you up when somebody tells you no, or it's a stupid idea, or when you hear no a lot, you're going to think I'm doing the wrong idea. If you see the vision and you talk to people and you validated what you're supposed to be doing, you're the only person, and your family is actually the only ones that can support you. So you can do life jackets. And lastly, be prepared for the highs and the lows. We all understand that there's really high highs and really low lows when you're an entrepreneur, but obviously they'll happen actually 20 to 100 times in a day, right? And so having that mental fortitude to manage that is really important. Read up. So I just did a quick screen grab on the internet. It's funny, I have every single one of these books, right? I think we all have a subset or most of these books that are in here. I have gotten to meet a couple of the people on here, and even Howard Love, when he started pitching this book for the J-Curve. Read into them and actually practice. These are very practical books, not just theory. These are books that are built by people that know what the hell they're doing. But also, you could probably create groups and talk about the books. So if you ever feel like you want to borrow one of these, or you want one of them, come to my office. I think everybody probably has a library. I think that would be great if we actually have more of each library. It would be great. But reading up is very key. Team is everything. So I'm just going to go through I think the biggest components that make up a good startup team. Technical guru is good if you're a technology company, but if not, it's fine. You can hire one out or contract one. Operations is everything. If you can't execute and you have shitty processes, you're just going to fail, right? Or the other thing that I think Lou McAllister said best was if you're not, if you're operating in the business and not on the business, forget it, right? So you need to figure your stuff out or find somebody that knows how to just get shit done and go and do it. Sales schmoozer. I feel like I present well and I meet with individuals and they're like, oh great, you're a great salesman. I hate selling. I hate the cold calls, I hate all of those things, but I still have to do it. So you're gonna find somebody that doesn't mind calling 100 to 200 to 300 people in a day potentially, and just reaching out and growing the business. We'll find somebody that just goes out at events, reaches out to people and just says, hey, look at this. I don't even know you, gotta see what this is. Marketing badasses. Everybody can read a book and think that they're a marketing badass. That is actually one of the toughest jobs that are out there. There's a lot of bullshit. I'm sorry, I'm cussing a lot, but it's true. There's a lot of BS out there. You can spend a lot of money on some really bad marketing. So truly understanding how you can grow either your social following or just your potential businesses and a top of funnel, sales funnel approach is really key, kind of tying it together. And lastly, and I think everybody needs this, but you need a passionate visionary. If you look at the Breakfast Club here, everybody has their key role to play, but if you're not passionate about what you're doing and have a vision where you're going, you're not going anywhere, right? And if you can't be that person that inspires your team, then forget it. So here's the most important thing I'm going to highlight, and just some of the things that I have to lean on as a startup entrepreneur here in the community. And there are aspects to all of these, and again, I think we all have probably had conversations in one of those. Lift the Rock is very similar to 1 Million Cups. I think we're all familiar, or most of us are familiar with 1 Million Cups, but 1 Million Cups for me was an opportunity for me to start presenting and pitching in a form, whether it's not pitching for money, but more telling a story about myself as an entrepreneur, but also finding out really what's important in the company and getting feedback, because that's the other great thing about that program for me. I think that's the same thing that the Venture Center here has for Lift the Rock. Startup Junkie Consulting. I've named up, everybody has met with the Amrons and that group. Fantastic resources. They've been there and they've done that. They'll talk about your lean canvas. They'll talk about specific strategies that you're doing that connect you with individuals. It's not always about funding, so don't ever just go to Startup Junkie and be like, I need money. Everybody needs money, right? But what you probably need the most is something that they can tell you that you don't want to listen to, right? The same thing here at the Venture Center, the mentors that are participating in the programs here. It's the hard questions and the hard answers, and you just got to be able to participate. And that's what I got out of those groups. Tech Wildcatters is a great accelerator. If you're ready for an accelerator, that means that you've either been your pre-revenue or you're in revenue, or you're growing a product and you actually have something that you can use and potentially scale. Beware of accelerators, because in some situations, You may have to move there, right? Which means if you've got family and they can't move with you, you're gonna be alone a little bit. It's cost a lot of money just to participate. Even if they're gonna give you money, it doesn't mean that it's gonna pay for things, right? So you've got to afford the location in which you're participating in. You also have to afford potential new hires that you can bring on to support you in that accelerator, but also understand the trade-offs, right? So if they're taking equity, understand what that means in part of your company and the long-term effects that they have on any potential ongoing investment. And not only that, but look at actually the individuals that are involved in an accelerator. If they've got a lot of deal flow that's going through an accelerator and hey, there's success rates at the end of it, not all of it happens. Or if there's mentors or investors of that program in there that truly do what they say they're doing, that is a great accelerator. But if one of those that gets in there and you hardly get anybody that shows up, or the mentors aren't very participative, or you start to show up and go, what am I getting here other than spending a lot of money and going, oh Jesus, what do I do, right? So I'm just kind of sharing some of the dregs that I had with one accelerator, which was sold as a top 10 accelerator, but I found out it was a top 10 waste of time. The University of Arkansas San Walton College of Business. Now I do have to highlight them. Anybody that you go to school with, right, is a resource, right? So if you have professors that you went with, marketing professors or engineering professors, what have you, they want you to succeed. They will always be your source of support, and their alumni associations are just great as well, right? So if I look back at the Walton College of Business and what they've done for me, I have to use every aspect of what I've learned in college, and I kick myself, my younger self, in the past all the time, because it's like, why didn't I show up more? I was a poor student. I didn't attend. I took tests. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So now, every so often I look back and go, how can I get help from you, right? How can you help me be successful? Because if I'm successful, guess what? All right, so I don't know how much we are on time. We're doing good on time? Good. So lastly, it's changing course. So one of the things that has been very bullied, I'm a bullhead, because my vision and passion or whatever, is I was always thinking that I needed to create a way in which to improve outdoor recreation and public safety, right? And we will do that. We are doing that with this adventure safe product that we're doing. But guess what, folks? People don't pay for safety. It's the last thing that happens. We all heard about it with the ducks incident that happened in Branson. Nobody wore their life jackets. I don't know about you, but if I see water that's coming up in the window, I'm wearing a life jacket, right? And so we've got to put more attention, more focus on safety. And if you put a $100 bill on that life jacket, we were in those life jackets, right? So with RaftUp, when I started pitching RaftUp and growing RaftUp, it was really focused on that safety aspect, right? But I should have been focused on another thing. It's called revenue. Like, how the hell does this make money? Not only for myself, but if I'm pitching to investors, sure should better make money for them, right? Because it's actually their money, not yours, right? You may have used all of your money, but then you're asking for somebody else to use their money. So with RaftUp, without further ado, we're not walking away from the safety aspect. That's just one thing, that's a giveaway, part of what we do. It's not the focus, we already built it, whatever. So going forward, we're now going to be the aggregator for all boat rentals across the country. For not peer-to-peer, but for those licensed and insured companies that are out there, and those marinas that can afford a real website. They need to track their inventory. They need to understand when reservations are coming out. And by the way, you'll notice if you ever go to Travelocity, you can see cars and cruises and hotels. Where the hell are boats at? Boats are rented, and they're one of the most expensive things you can rent in one single day. Did you know the average price for a boat rent for a day is $350, right? It's a lot of money. So what we're going to be doing is we've already earned several marinas that want to use our aggregated service. So if you want, you could visit to our website pretty soon. We'll provide an aggregated view of where you're at. You can plan, book, pay, and then we provide an entire end-to-end reservation and fleet management system for the marina. So they'll know where the boats are going, how often they're rented, and we just take the convenience fee, right? And the best part is, we have an enhanced 911 service that we provide as part of the service, and it's a mobile application. So our pivot is kind of real, and the other thing that we wanted to highlight too, is that we got some really cool strategic partnerships that are in play. I wish I could have said one. I'm having a big meeting today, but a major insurance company will soon be promoting this to their agents in 4 states. And if you download our application, you get 5% off your boat premium. How would you love to get a free app that actually gives you $50 back? It's pretty cool. And then what I want to do is highlight the Progressive Miami Boat Show for 2019. We will provide an interactive boat show experience where you download our application. You can see where friends and family are at that event. The best part is you can also see where water shuttles and water taxis and the traffic are around the event, so that when you're out there having a great time and finding out what you want to do, you can be doing it with your friends, but also know when to pick up and when to drop off on a water taxi. And the cool thing is, everything we built for the 911 service goes right into the system. So we didn't have to build anything new. We just commercialized it. I'm going to provide it to the national question. Thank you.
So Corey, is this outdoorsy for boats? Awesome, awesome.
So I hope I was able to give you kind of a connections, kind of entrepreneurial story, some learnings, and then how we're changing course and what's going on there. So I would like to open the floor to questions, or if you have anything Jessica doesn't mention. So fire away. I'd love to hear it. Go ahead.
Of course, I've been around as long as RaftUp, and so I've seen several of those pivots. How did you come to this most recent one? Because that's very recent, seems like. And
So-
how did that grow? How did you identify that need?
So, no, that's a great question. So how do we change or get to this point? Over the last 3 years, we've been, integrating and providing our mobile application to marinas, actually. So we partner with quite a few marinas in Arkansas and Missouri. And some of the feedback they provided was, this is great, but I'd love to track my boats. I'm like, okay, that's great. So how do we do that? And then I started to get more feedback from our marinas and also the boat renters, and they're like, great, I wish you could have rented a boat this way. So I started to do a lot of research. We started renting boats in Missouri, Arkansas, all the way up to New Hampshire, all the way down to the Florida Keys, because now I can afford to do some of that research, and found out that it's the same horrible, crappy experience everywhere. Did you know that the cost of renting a boat down in Florida Keys is like $250 a boat, rather than $350 or $700 a boat? But guess what? When you call them, sometimes you have to call between 9 and 5. And when then you call them, that boat may or may not be available, or if you call back in the afternoon, then you can potentially get the boat, right? I don't know about you, but we don't plan our lives that way. We do all of our planning at nighttime, in our underwear, in the bed, that sort of thing. So that was a lot of kind of coming through it, right? And not only that, but a lot of the learnings that we had from the 911s. Tracking and knowing where to go and what to do, it's the same. It's a good question.
Talk about the insurance aspect of what you're doing. Obviously, you have a major insurance partner, which is going to be part of your portfolio, if you will. So I know, follow Outdoorsy very closely. I like what they're doing, and I think it's meaningful. This seems to fall exactly into that category, plus you're adding the value of the safety piece, which is really, really cool. You ought to sell that to Outdoorsy, by the way. I'm happy to make that connection to you, but the insurance piece, so what is your liability in this process, and have you built that in, or?
Yeah, so let's focus on the 911s first. So in 2008, Congress put an act out there, knew that enhanced 911 needed to happen, but they also knew that the private industry was going to have to support 911. It couldn't be the government that's always coming up with a solution that would just be stupid, ridiculous, expensive. So there was an act that said any private entity that's involved in assisting and enhancing the 911 experience is barred from any liability up to a certain point. So basically, it's in a legal way, we're not replacing 911, we're enhancing the service and supporting the benefit, right? So when you opt into our mobile application, you have to go through the terms and conditions. Not everybody reads those, but actually highlight, we're not replacing, we're enhancing and providing location awareness to first responders in areas that are red. So from a liability perspective, I just have to have liability covering the software and make sure that it's up and going. And then when we sign an agreement with the 911s, it's basically a contract that says, yes, you're just an enhancement, not a replacement for 911, and we make sure just to kind of mark that. And so liability from that perspective. And again, we even say that when you even initiate the SOS feature in the application, this is not a replacement for 911, this is just a location alert service. And then we actually auto-populate the 911 on the mobile application so that you can always on call.
So if I rent a boat, so that's great.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I think that's of course suspect to who has the better.
Oh, yeah, it's a definite, you have that thing.
But so when I rent a RV from Outdoorsy, I'm providing $1 million of liability. as the provider?
We don't own well, here's the thing, this is the cool thing, because like Travelocity doesn't own the hotels or the cruises or anything. We are a transaction mediator, right? So the marinas who are operating owns the boats, and they own the relationship between the renter and me. All we do is we'll be providing you with the documents and the acknowledgements to sign so that's stored in-house.
So if I want to rent Ashley's boat, though, it's not owned by the marina, is that part of what you're doing?
No, we are not going to do peer-to-peer, and it's my view, and also my connection into the boating industry, that'll actually become illegal pretty soon.
Really?
Yeah, the liability of, well, I think from just own your own boat, that's fine, but I think the legality starts to come into the situation where if you operate a boat and you're not, have been educated, you haven't been vetted with the proper licenses or education, and you damage the boat, there's been a lot of incidences where damage and that has occurred. But the other thing is, I'll go back to this other picture. You'll see that this is captain. In the space of peer-to-peer and captaining, the Coast Guard actually determines whether you have to have a 6-pack license from the Coast Guard to be a captain. You have to have insurance and cover all of that. There have been several incidences where captains aren't actually really captains, and so what you're doing is you're a barefoot charter. Not to go into all the legalities of it, but so far the Coast Guard is looking to shut down any barefoot charter service where you're actually not a licensed or procured service. So what we decided is never to go through peer-to-peer, only go through existing businesses that have inventory or captains that they already do business with.
What's the market size relative to boat?
So 10,000 marinas that do about 10,000 marinas that have boating operations. You're looking at average fleet size of about 15 is the average fleet size. It could be higher. Average boat rental is $350 a day, and we charge a convenience fee, right? So that convenience fee could go from 6 to 10%, right? And that's just passed on to the consumer, not to the operator. So you're looking at well over a couple $100 million in just the rental reservations, and that's just 45 days. So we just looked at 45 days out of an entire year and said, okay, 45 days at a fleet of 15 at $350 a day. You know, if you look at Samsung, I'd love to show this slide, but we could do that. But it's pretty conservative. It's pretty lucrative.
It's about 10,000 marinas in the country.
There's actually more than that. There's over 12,000 marinas, but not every marina rents, right? And that we're not even accounting canoeing and outfitting, right? So that could also be a potential for us as well.
Are you fundraising now, or do you guys close around? Where are you at?
So we're not doing a general solicitation, but we are doing something called PPM, private placement memorandum. So we're doing our Reg B 506B.
So Corey, there's been a number of companies, I warned you this was coming.
Yeah.
So there's been a number of companies locally that have been through multiple accelerators, multiple, entrepreneur support organization programs. RaftUp fell in that category. I'm sure you didn't list all the programs that you went to, but you sort of differentiate yourself and appear to have sort of coming out the other side of the tunnel there. What's the key there? What's the differentiator for RaftUp? Having been through a number of programs, when did you sort of hit the bottom of the J curve, and why do you think you're coming up?
January 2018. So that's a great question. So the key to success is time and effort and not giving up, right? So I've had small failures, right? It's attempting different things and spending money on different technologies or features on the application, but it's surviving long enough. It really is, you gain more street cred, you learn more about trying to run a startup and build a startup if you could just hold on long enough, right? So never quit, work out of your home, sell everything you have. Not to say you have to do that. That's a stereotype, right? Like if you watch Silicon Valley, I gotta check my stereotypes at the door because it's all there, right? Everything that they say is pretty much true, right? But to your point, it's timing. You've got to last long enough, you got to hear enough feedback and anecdotal evidence and measure analytics on your app or your website. You got to go to hundreds of boat shows or trade shows, talk to thousands of individuals, like bleed a lot, cry a little bit, you know, hit a deer or two in the way and things like that, go into debt, a lot of stuff. Time and survival, right, will actually teach you what you need to do, because ultimately, revenue is what people and businesses want. Good stuff will come along, you can do the good stuff. I mean, when I say the good stuff, it's not one stuff. I want to do good, but at the end of the day, you gotta be simplified and you gotta make money.
So you kind of mentioned like starting out with the safety was the initial, reason for being, and then you recognize like a whole market that's not really being addressed.
Right.
Who's your competitor at the moment?
So there are several different booking applications that are out there. I think you probably name off Fair Harbor as a booking application. Peak? Yeah, Peak is a booking application. But there's actually zero focus on the marine industry, right? The other thing is they're componentalized. So if you want to look at silos of different technologies, you have a ton of sort of transportation logistics tracking, fleet tracking devices, but guess what? They're all focused on transportation logistics. They can give a crap about where a boat is in a fleet, right? So over time, I think it goes back to what you're saying is, I started, because my background, my first job was at a marina when I was 14, and then I managed it when I was high school. I understand the industry. And so I started going, okay, I'll put these together. And now we have a full end-to-end, basically, boating management system, if you want to think about it. Like CRM engagement, you can track them on a mobile application. You could know pretty soon from the day that they visit your site to where they even visit and go on a beach someplace. Super nuts, the analytics are behind my system, right? So if you think about it, there's booking systems, there's fleet management systems, and then you have some archaic marina management systems that were built back in the 90s, right? But nothing's, to be honest, been here looking at it for a long time, nothing's is doing what we're doing here.
Safety, usually all of us, like, it's only in hindsight, you're like, man, I really wish I had that. But, yeah,
Yeah. Now, I do want to highlight peer-to-peers. Peer-to-peer is a big deal right now. I think it's just a ridiculous idea. Boat Setter is one of them. Where's another one, guys? Well, yeah, Get My Boat. You can go out and find out whose boat's available to rent. So I don't know about you. Have you ever owned a boat that's super expensive? Boat stands for break out another 1,000, right? Would never let anyone use my boat, and we've driven rental cars before. You know what people do to rental cars? You can only imagine what people do to somebody else's boat. We'll never let that.
Is there any use for the data that you're collecting?
Oh yeah, so going back to the insurance company and the Corps of Engineers, they asked us for the names. Because guess what we have now? We have anonymized odormetrics on geographies of how often, where they're going, the type of boat, where they're storing their boat, those sort of things. So we will be working on relationships that.
Somebody wants to know.
Oh yeah. And we're already working that. And the Freedom Boat Club, they're basically like a gym membership. Just to kind of go into it. You can pay $4,000 to join, then you pay $300 a month, and then you can reserve boats, that they have in their inventory. They about have 15 boats. It's an 8-to-1 ratio. They have 165 locations around the country.
Really?
Right? They have over, 2,000 boats in inventory. And we have a strategic partnership where we're testing in Boston. So, yeah, so I want those 165 locations. I want that volume.
So speaking of anonymized data and stuff like that and tracking the users, have you guys looked into how that affects with GDPR and the new up and coming stuff that we know is eventually coming to America as well? Like, you started to head that off at the pass now?
Well, yeah, so we're updating all of our privacy terms and conditions. I think it's just a situation where educating the user about how and what the data is used for. We're really kind of selling the vision today. This isn't live just yet. I think what it is just, I think the onboarding exercise is saying, hey, we're not tracking when you're at home. We're just sharing this data that's anonymized when you're on the water, right? And we're going to share it with industries or government that can improve the experience, but potentially the safety. And I think that's a big part of it. But yeah, I think having to pay an attorney to update all of that stuff is definitely what we've been doing. So I think call the question.
And the market's not really differentiated here between freshwater and saltwater. It's pretty much the same market for you, right?
Yeah, that's one thing that we've been benefited is the good thing for us is actually we're strategically located right now where there's just a lot of marinas are owned by a lot of families, right? And the younger generation, they haven't put a lot of effort and money into some of it, but if you look at when we went to the coast, worked on Florida Keys or went in Tampa Bay, it was the same exact situation. They had a crappy website, or they had a booking system, but it wasn't tied into fleet tracking and all those sort of things. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to focus. The other thing that we're going to share is we're actually evaluating a move to Florida, moving the headquarters down to Florida. Maybe temporarily, but we're evaluating how do we offset seasonality, right? I want to make more than just 45 days worth of money. I want to make it year round, right? So we're going to evaluate popular boating destinations. Florida is one of them, but also there's some islands that rent boats and charter boats. So.
One last question, if there is one.
I'll make a statement. So Corey wasn't using hyperbole when he said sell your house. Before he went to Tech Wildcatters, we had a talk, and he actually put his house on the market. Not sure what came of that, but I mean, I don't know of very many entrepreneurs locally that have actually put their house up for sale. Corey did.
Thank you. If there's anything you can help me with, download my application if you don't mind, RaftUp. It provides a ton of cool shit right now, but we've got some more stuff coming up. Come and talk to me anytime. Thank you.
I know it's helpful for this audience to hear, and we're going to continue this series next Tuesday with Jeff Amorine, actually here from Results Junkies, and he's going to be speaking to us on some of the different programs that they have up in Northwest Arkansas, and then also just things that he would like to bestow upon the entrepreneurial community here in Little Rock. So we'll look forward to seeing you then.
I kinda can't see.